agenda?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
And the only amendment that, if I need to, would be if the delegation isn't here, we'll move into one of the reports. Confirmation that the agenda for the regular council meeting is approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Fenelon. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. Motion to adopt the minutes of the August 19th, 2020 regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Howie. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. If it's safe to say, we will lift item 7.1 and we will lift item 7.2. I think fair to say that we're going to get updated on both. Is that proper to do that, Clerk? Can I just, yep. And then we move to the delegation. No, we have, there must be a motion, or sorry. Oh, there are no items not, there are no items not lifted. So that's what's missing. Good. So delegation, is Mr. Hashizaki ready?
I don't believe he's joined us yet. No, I'm not seeing him on the line yet. So you may want to proceed with 7.1 in the interim.
Council, if you're all right with that, rather than sit here looking at each other, we'll proceed with item 7.1, and then we'll complete that item. You can have Mr. Hashizaki wait. We'll complete 7.1 if he joins us, if that's fair enough, Mr. Clerk. Thank you. All right, so staff report 2020 operating financial reports, August 31st, 2020. That council receives the municipal utilities and airport financial statements as of August 31st, 2020. I'll need a mover. Moved by Councillor Fenelon, seconded by Councillor Howie. And discussion, I'll just go around the table. I'll start with Councillor Lego.
Okay, the airport, it seems what they've implemented has worked. It's only a minimal shortfall at the airport. Utilities seem to be in good shape for the present and moving into the future. Question just in regards, if the treasurer can answer this. It seems that the majority of the levy taxes have been collected. I'm just wondering how much is still remaining to be paid. I see that the railway tax hasn't been paid yet. There's a small difference still owing, but I was wondering if we're sort of exceeding what was budgeted in the tax levy.
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, can everyone hear me?
Yes, yeah, we're good.
Okay, so what you see in regards to taxation, Councillor Lego, is what we've billed out. It's not what people have paid so far. So what's currently outstanding on our 2020 taxation dollars for outstanding payments, we're looking at just below $1 million. However, keep in mind that the second installment isn't due until the end of October. So after the second installment's due, we will see a true picture of what is outstanding for taxations for 2020.
Okay, just another question regarding the revenue collected through each department. It seems that sort of over the next 4 months, we're sort of at about 3.9 million right now collected. Do you foresee us not collecting all of the money that was put in the budget for each department?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, for items that have been invoiced through accounts receivable, which is what you see currently within the budget, most of it has been paid. There are items that we're hoping to anticipate that it will, in areas of departments that will see an increase in regards to, now that the fitness center is reopening, the ice surface is now in. Items like that which were closed early, we are anticipating revenue to come in for the remainder of the year for those particular items.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bath.
It's just pretty well the same question the Councillor Lego had, was regarding the utilities revenue. I expect that to just build also. And do we have numbers yet for what's not paid on that, or how far we are in deficit?
Right now, through you, Mayor Lawrence, we are currently starting our shut-off notices to help people to get caught up with their water and sewer bills, where you currently have an outstanding amount for utilities as between $35,000 and $40,000 of unpaid utility bills. I'm hoping that with the notices going out this week, it will help people or entice people to call the finance department to make up arrangements with us to help them get caught up if they can't do it with one lump sum.
Anything further, Councillor Bath?
That's fine. Thank you, Carter.
Councillor Timpson.
Just what is the bottom? I guess could you just articulate again the bottom line, Carly?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the bottom line of what exactly?
Well, just what is our deficit as of now, and or surplus rather
for 2020?
Yeah, I don't have for some reason the actual numbers report isn't coming up on my iPad right now. I did see it before, but I just was wondering if you could just summarize for me.
It's too early to tell what the surplus or deficit is going to be for 2020. In regards to the fact that not all the transactions have occurred within our system. On top of that, the auditors also do adjusting entries at the end of year end, and each year those adjusting entries change. So it's too early for me to state whether or not I feel we would have a surplus or a deficit at the end of the year. We are continuing with our due diligence to make sure that we don't have a deficit, but it's really hard for me to comment on that at the time being.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's not as grim as it sounded like it was going to be back in the spring when you presented to us.
We're hoping not. You know, managers have done their due diligence with only purchasing the essentials that they've needed, and that has helped us quite a bit throughout this pandemic. So we will know closer to year end as to what our numbers are going to look like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Howie.
I don't have any specific questions from the reports, however, but I am, glad to see that the Recreation Department is expecting things to be somewhat normal, with ice bookings filling up and their operations running relatively normal at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to some of the comments already made. I'm glad to hear that we still have one installment left, and there's only $1 million outstanding, which I think is good. So thank you for the update, and hopefully things stay as positive as positive as I can. So, thank you.
You, Councillor Fenelon.
I have nothing on it. Everything looks half decent for the year so far.
All right, thank you. I'm going to, instead of going around one more time, I'm just going to, if there's a councillor that has a follow-up question, please raise your hands. If anybody has a follow-up.
Yeah.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I did see the reports earlier in the week. I can't see them now, but one question I had about the airport was in the 2019 actuals, is that the actuals to date or the actuals for the whole year? I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You wouldn't have heard that. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, we did. We heard you, Councillor Timpson. We did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
You're
I
looking
was.
for the actuals to date or actuals for the
Oh,
year.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I thought I was muted. Okay.
No, you weren't. And just if you're looking at your iPad, and if you have the agenda on from eScribe,
Yeah, I have the agenda. Yeah.
in the top right of that of the white bar on the right-hand side, there's a paperclip symbol.
Yeah.
If you lightly touch that, then you should get the attachments popping up, and then you
Yeah,
click,
it lists them, but it's.
then you have to touch them again. Touch the one you want.
Yeah, I did. It didn't come up, so
Cool.
I don't know.
Okay.
But
So
I thought I did see them before. I just
All
don't
right.
know why it's not working now.
Treasurer, sorry, Councillor Treasurer, you have a response?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the 2019 actuals are from January 1st of 2019 until August 31st of 2019.
Okay, so that's yeah. I wasn't sure whether we should be comparing that that column with the middle column or the first column. So that's good.
It wouldn't make sense if I put the whole year and tried to compare it to what, excuse me,
No.
to what the actuals were for only up until the end of August.
Right, yeah, because some of them on the actuals for the 2019 were similar to 2020, and it didn't look like there was anything out of sync there, so I just wasn't sure.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anything further, Council, by way of raised hand? Treasurer, you're the one that only keeps on raising her hand there, sir. Very good. Then I will call the motion to receive the municipal utilities and airport financial statements as of August 31st. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And now I think Mr. Clerk, can we go to the delegation? So we'll be on item 8.1, the delegation from Ed Hashizaki Sports Tourism Strategy Presentation. Mr. Hashizaki, are you on board?
Sorry about that.
That's good. No, great. Welcome, and I'll turn it. You've heard what we've said so far. As you introduce you, and turn it over to you for your presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, Mayor. I just wanted to. It's been a long time since we started this, and have sort of come to this spot, and a lot of things have changed and came back to where they were. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about sort of the overview and what the original intent of this study was, how things sort of transpired as we went through it, and what sort of at the end of it, based on some of those changes, that we could sort of review those, and then maybe in the long term or in the short term, we'd make some sort of adjustments as we move forward. One of the issues for me has been through the COVID project is that I do not have the people that work for me, and specifically Colin that worked for me on this project, working for me anymore. So he's moved on to the Lure of British Columbia, and he's moved out there. So Colin did a lot of the background work on this project. He did the interviews with people in the community. He worked out with us on the public meetings that we have. So a lot of the background information that Colin worked on, he won't be able to be here to speak on that. But I believe I have a good understanding of all that has transpired and sort of where we've sort of come to this point. So originally in the proposal and the work we did was to look at how we could, Sioux could capture more of the Indigenous visitors that come to the municipality for other types of visitation, whether it's coming for to get services from the hospital, to get additional, whether it's social or recreational or that sort of thing within the boundaries of Sioux. And we all can appreciate that Sioux is unique in the amount of visitors they get from the, well, I'm going to have to deal with that 1 second. Oh, there it goes. And it's unique in the amount of visitors they get from the northern communities. And as we're aware, there's the Sioux zone has 30 First Nations that they service, and that includes education, direct health, mental health. All those primarily are delivered through the town of Sioux through the First Nation organizations and service centers that they are here. So part of that was to look, not part of it, but one of the main parts of this study was to look at how does Sioux make their stay more enjoyable, and how can they work together to, from a sporting point of view, is look at how they could work together to grow the sort of those sectors that where there was sort of compatibility within the community and with what was happening in those First Nations. So part of that was to look at sort of the community profile, and beyond that, we looked not just the town of Sioux, but more the region. So all the communities, what's happening in those communities, what's the facilities in there? Do they have arenas? Do they have what kind of sporting type of what kind of sporting activities do they have it in their communities? Do they have baseball? Do they have softball? Do they, in some communities, lacrosse? So all that is within the study, all that information. We talked to users that use the arena, that use for events like volleyball tournaments and also broomball tournaments, as well as hockey tournaments in the community. So all that information we gathered from those communities and put and we have that within the study in the background information of the study. It's not in the final report, but it is in the study of the background information that we collected. The other part was the community engagement. So we had a number of meetings within the community. We attended some and some that were put on with the Chamber of Commerce, with the business, also with the sport fishing industry. We attended that to see what the concerns and what the viewpoints in some of those were. We talked to people that had organized the events, event-based tourism, Blueberry Festival, the fishing tournament, all those sort of events that are taking place are sort of at the present time. So that was the main part of the background and the outline that the information that we collected for to sort of get a good sense and feeling, because sometimes you think about the way that things are, or you make assumptions and things have either changed or they may never have been that. In that case, you might have thought they more activity is in a certain area than it is. So we try to get a good picture of that. One of the other parts of the project when we submitted a proposal for it was to look at the condition of the recreational assets. That's included in that study, and that was completed by Q8 NASCI. So looking at the assets that the community operates, which essentially was the arena, the fitness center, and the ball diamonds and that area. So not to go too far into that, but essentially most of the assets are in relatively good shape. The arena, of course, has been there a long time, but it has had upgrades over the years. There would need to be, to continue in the future, an investment in it to bring it up, to have some sort of better facilities within that center and upgrade some of the infrastructure in that. But overall, the asset study showed that most of the assets are in relatively good condition. Separate to that is they did not look at Cedar Bay from that perspective. There is a lot of studies that have been done and have been completed on Cedar Bay. We reviewed all the studies that were completed on that part of it. And at the end of the day, Cedar Bay actually took us quite a bit of time in terms of looking at what the operations there were and what the assets were there, and looking at what the recommendations that have been to date. So as I said, there's been a lot of studies to that, but fundamentally it comes down to the investment that's needed to keep Cedar Bay open. And there are also, it's essentially three separate areas, Cedar Bay. It's geographically, it's not one contiguous parcel of land, which I think is something that if the community or the municipality is looking at keeping it, developing it for the long term, that's something that has to be addressed. So there's what we look at like the lakeshore development, where the cabins and and the main lodge is there. There's also the stables that is operated independently, and then also the trail network, which is operated which is separate as well. So part of those assets over the long term is in the study that I think was completed in 2012. There were relatively straightforward recommendations around the process that goes through it. If I had to talk about what the view that we have is that I think that the stables, the boarding facility, that is something that's operational, is being operated by the Friends of Cedar Bay and the staff there. So I think that is a separate issue that can continue to operate. I think the trail network is one of Sioux best recreational assets that is operated at a relatively low cost and is also something that can be developed. One of the things I think that's missing there is that regardless of the long-term development that the lakeshore of Cedar Bay would undergo, I think there should be a separate building for the cross-country skiers, the mountain or the fat bikers, and the people that use all those trails. That would be sort of something that would be, I think, as a significant asset to having the ability to utilize that more for people that would come to use it, and also make it more attractive to people that live in the community. So one of the issues around that I haven't talked about is around the users and the indigenous part of that is, I think that there's been a lot of discussion around Cedar Bay as the lodge portion of it as a that could be used with First Nation organizations and education as a outdoor and as a cultural sort of facility. And I'm not, I think in our discussions, one critical issue always remains is capital funding is, I won't say easy to get, but it's easier to get than long-term operational funding. So if you do invest in upgrading that so that it is a functional facility, which right now I don't think the condition of the cabins and even the lodge from a safety perspective and having those type of sort of long-term large-scale activities there would need a major investment. And the bigger question is who would be able to pay for the maintenance and that. And I think that unless you had a committed partner that could bring investment or revenues on an annualized basis, then it would be difficult to support. It would be a lot more difficult to support that. So it's not to say that it couldn't be done, but it certainly would need a commitment. And I know that a lot of First Nation organizations face the same type of issue in that it's difficult for them to get long-term funding as well. But in overall, the assets that are in place right now in Sioux are in relatively good condition. There's always upgrades that can be made. So one of the big things that has been identified by, in the community was a swimming pool. So it's that and a bowling alley, but swimming pool always has been sort of the number one issue for residents of the municipality and the surrounding area. So part of what happened while we were doing the study is that the Canada-Ontario Infrastructure Program came out and Sioux made an application to that. So while that was going on, we made the assumption that there would be a swimming pool and other assets in that as well. So within the study, that assumption then had an impact on what sort of investments would be made on the existing in the existing facilities. Specifically, there were some within the new recreational facility that there would be they would share that with the golf course and the curling club, and there would be also some development there that would allow for a warming place for cross country skiing and the other trail systems. So that was part of what we sort of an assumption on our part. So we did not sort of pursue any sort of long-term around any issues around that had to do with mostly with the pool. And there was an assumption there that there'd be 2 ice surfaces, maybe one to begin and one after that. So that had an impact on how we regarded those. There was an assumption from what I understand, that that facility was not approved at this point, and I'm not sure where it stands, but that's where we sort of was the sort of the assumption that we're making on that part of it. So in terms of in sort of the Indigenous tourism, that was one of the key things that we looked at. And as I said, we talked to people that put on the broomball tournament, people that put on the volleyball tournament in the municipality of Sioux. Those are a couple of the 2 most sort of prevalent activities that are in First Nations other than hockey. Hockey is the #1 activity in communities that have arenas in the north. Hockey is also the #1 thing that organizations like Winks and are looking for additional ice time. So they have, they use as much ice time as they can in Sioux, and they also they work to use the arena in Frenchman's Head. But just from a logistics point of view, getting out there, getting back, and using it after the school that's difficult for them to get back and within that time period. But that so in the community, with the facilities that are within the community and also at Pelican Falls, there is the opportunity there for to utilize those existing facilities for not the broom ball, but certainly for volleyball and other activities that we also think can be somewhat expanded. Like everybody that organizes events, most of the people that we talked to wasn't really an issue of facilities, it was more an issue of volunteers and getting people to help to organize those events. And also, I think one of the things they felt is if there was somewhere within Sioux where they could work to get everything they would need in terms of organizational assistance, that would be helpful to them as well. The other parts within the indigenous tourism and activities were from a cultural point of view, as I sort of pointed out before, there is an interest in sort of two-way cultural activities, both from a lot of people in the northern communities. You have people that live in Sioux and go up north and then come back, so that there's always that two-way interaction. One of the biggest issues for them is housing, which has outside of the scope of this project, but getting affordable housing in Sioux, there would be more ability for people to visit here and stay here and that sort of thing. Generally from Indigenous tourism, it was an aspect of support and interaction and change, not as much as sort of hard facility. The other that I talked about was regional and event-based tourism. So at the present time, sport fishing is sort of in terms of the economic impact from a tourism perspective, not necessarily visitors. The visitors to Sioux primarily are from the northern communities that come through the airport. But for what we would consider a traditional tourism experience, it is the sport fishing industry. They generally camp owners and do a lot of their own direct marketing into markets that they're aware of and that they utilize in the American Midwest. Sunset Country is, and can't remember the name of it, but generally Sunset Country does a lot of their marketing on a shared basis. So they do sort of overall, and then the provincial has some marketing. They do marketing as well on a larger basis into the American Midwest, but they're also trying to expand the marketing into Toronto, into Southern Ontario. So it's interesting in that for individual operators, they have a strong repeat business. So they try and fill the rest of that isn't repeat business. There's some issues around the age of their customers and updating that age group, but they're very private, should I say, or because the basis of their business are those clients, is that they do a number of ways in order to increase that. So that's what they would be interested in, is more from a regional perspective from a marketing perspective. That would help them overall from a regional perspective, and then they would do the on the ground marketing. The event-based tourism, so Sioux sort of major part of that is the Sioux Blueberry Festival. That would be their major event. Also the fishing tournaments have been very successful. Volunteer organizations that with some of the municipality, but they're those are very well known, but they could definitely use more support, more marketing. So that's from that perspective. So sort of at the end of it is in terms of sort of moving forward, and I'm sort of a high level view, but I want to allow time to discuss this. But one of the major parts from the tourism perspective of other than investments in assets and upgrading assets, which is a significant investment, one of the things is the marketing, and part of that has to do with the new funding that's, or not new, but the funding that has the direct destination marketing organization. So as we looked at it in terms of there is a portion of that funding that needs to go into marketing, and a portion of it that could be reinvested. And I think the town of Sioux looked at that as part of how they would fund the new recreation center. How that has worked out, then that might be revisit it or how you do that in a different manner. But we didn't really make recommendations on that because we felt that was hopefully that was going to be approved. But in terms of from the more traditional marketing, for the structure of it as well, we thought that it made most sense to have it within the economic development office that already is there and does some marketing, and that would be part of that, and the portion of that budget would be portioned to the economic development office with a person in place and a marketing budget to do that. That would be with a committee, it could be with a committee or it could be a subcommittee, however that they think it's going to be most effective. I know that for the municipality, those areas, they would have an input that in terms of having counselors on that committee, as well as people from the tourism area. So one of the things is that I think the recognition that the visitors in Sioux, there's over 100,000 people that come through the airport, as well as people that travel in it as well. And I think that the demographics and my experience in working in communities in the north, the younger people there are more prepared to leave the community to go out on vacations and visit and go to Thunder Bay and go to wherever they happen to go to. So there is an interest there, and there's I think an ability to work with those communities on events that are of interest to both them and people living in the Sioux area, as well as the communities in the north. There's also Lac Sioux, there's Mishkoganga. So there's communities that are also in relative close proximity and within driving distance. So that is, I think, sort of one of the issues of when you talk about this destination marketing for tourism, is that people only see the sort of traditional tourism markets, and in Sioux is in a unique position relative to other communities where they don't have those type of visitor numbers coming into the community. So overall, there's a lot more sort of written in there, and also the background document that goes with it. We really didn't look at an implementation plan. We can, based on the comments today, we can update and revise some from the input that the mayor and council have. But in terms of the implementation plan, other than some specific things that's over the long term, I think that's something that would have to be, once the sort of the tourism committee is in place, and it may be something that they would want to look at from that perspective. But essentially, there is funding that's coming in from the community. There's an opportunity for a destination marketing organization, and there are organizations and communities that are interested in events within Sioux. Was that 20 minutes?
So that's thanks, Ed.
So I'm wide open to questions.
All right. So just before we go around the table, I think any direction, there won't be any direction to you tonight from council. Council will work with staff, and if there's anything further, that direction would be based on a discussion between council and staff, and then staff to you. So just don't write down anything as direction from council tonight. We're going to there'll be some questions. I think I'll go around the table, and I'll start just the same as the last time. Councillor Lego.
Yeah, I don't have an overall question. I think some of the main points is going forward, what we're going to do with Cedar Bay. If we're going to do a public-private partnership, maybe try to make it cultural centric with First Nation involvement. Also, our facilities moving forward, that we need to invest in what we have already, as pointed out by Ed, since we won't be getting in a new facility anytime soon. And also the destination marketing organization. At some point, I hope to see a report from staff on which direction we're going and what organization is going to be getting part of the MAT tax to promote Sioux Lookout, and also working with our local tourist organizations to help bring in more people to our area. So that's about all I had. It was a thorough report, and I would just like to thank Ed for putting that together for us.
Thanks, Councillor Lego. Councillor Beth.
Yeah, not a lot to really say. It is a thorough report, Ed. Thank you for that. And I guess when I look at it, I really can't see points on it that I'm going to pick away at. I really believe we need to turn this back over to either the Recreation Committee or probably an enhanced Recreation Committee. I think the Recreation Committee we have is probably more in tune with the arena and the fitness center, and it needs to become much broader than that to look at the overall picture, much of what's detailed in this report. So I think that's probably where we need to go with this.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I think one of the things that struck me the most was that the very small amount of taxes that are going into outdoor recreation, and specifically even Cedar Bay, $12 per taxpayer versus 233, or it goes $12 per taxpayer going to Cedar Bay compared to 233 going to the recreation facility. And I'm not saying that, and I understand certainly why it has to be that way, but I think that I'll address Cedar Bay first. I think that the best route there is to go with partnerships, and in a way that would make it self-sustaining. For example, regularly people are calling Friends of Cedar Bay. They should be calling the rec center, but they want to rent a cabin, or they want to have a party, or they want to have a wedding or something down there. And once the ski club received a request from, I think it was a ski club from out of town, they wanted to come and have a ski weekend here and sleep over. The bird watchers come every year. I mean, so I would like to see something there concerning how these facilities could be self-sustaining. And as you mentioned, the organizations have as much difficulty getting ongoing operational funds as anybody. But why does it always have to be government money? Why can't they be, sustain themselves with fees and rentals and so on? That's something I'd really like to see. I would really like to see looked at. And that would be the same if we had a pool as well. Look at how could it self-sustain itself? How could it make money? It's been done elsewhere where private groups have taken over pools and they've made money. And it was done in Southern Ontario, for example, and a private group took over a high school pool that was about to close, and ended up, the Board of Education received, or they made so much money for the Board of Education was able to keep another high school pool open. So it can be done if we merge the public and the private way of operating. So I was going to say, getting back to Cedar Bay, I just wanted to mention that you had a point in there about one option being to sell it. And I think it needs to be somewhere noted that was put on the table in 2006. And there was really quite an uproar from the community about it, about doing that. And that was really how Friends of Cedar Bay ended up was born out of that sort of thing. So, and I just also want to mention that what's the name? Is that CULB Ed? That getting on the ministry AMNR's
Crown.
The Crown Land, yeah, the Crown Land Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we've been looking into that. Somebody is researching that through Friends of Cedar Bay is making inquiries on that and has written letters to the M&R. In fact, all the Cedar Bay groups, all 4 of us have sent letters to the ministry on that. So I was just for your information. But anyway, those are my comments, and I guess mainly, how can we self-sustain? How can some of these facilities sustain themselves without relying on government money? Because I really do believe that with Cedar Bay, that, and you've identified that as a cultural center and perfect for the indigenous kids that come down here for schooling. It's a gold mine. I believe it's a gold mine. If it were, taken to its potential. That's it. Thank you very much. It was an interesting report.
Thanks, Councillor Timpson. Councillor Howie.
Okay, thank you for putting this report together. And I do, first thing I'm going to say is Cedar Bay. It's the hot topic tonight. I appreciate you mentioning the significant investment it would require to get it to a functioning status. But like Councillor Lego said, I think a public-private partnership there would be the best opportunity to go, maybe with that cultural lens as a cultural center. Councillor Timpson did echo that there are a lot of students that come down from the north, and that is a great opportunity for them to be engaged. I mean, this COVID season has really illustrated that they need specific activities for them to kind of maintain within their bubble. And I think that's a prime opportunity for that kind of partnership there. And I also appreciate the amount of groups that you did consult with through the organizations, SLIFNA, the golf course. I see that you also engaged with the Ojibwe Power Toboggan Association. And I'm curious to see the kind of feedback they have on this tourism strategy. Understanding there's some difficulties when it gets into renting snowmobiles and whatnot, but they have some beautiful trails. So I think that can also be done through what Councillor Bath said, with an enhanced recreation committee, engaging with those public, private, and those organizations like SLIFNA and IFNA and those kind of groups. So I think there's a lot of work that can be done too to kind of firm up some things, get some ideas on the table. But this is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, thank you for the report, Ed. I just got a few questions. I'm just, with regards to through council or through the staff, I guess, it's just my question about the survey that's in this report being from 2008. I'm just questioning how relevant it is to our population and everyone now. It had 186 responses in 2008, and maybe we need to refresh this to actually give us a point us in the right direction. That was one thing that I kind of caught on to. My other thing with regards to the direct marketing organization and stuff like that, and we're talking about funding it through the MAT tax and how we'd incorporate our tourist industry and stuff. And I think our tourist industry does do a lot of marketing, as you touched on. And my concern would be how that would play out politically with all the different user groups that our council chose not to include the tourist outfitters and the lodges within the MAT tax, and then and how it would affect the marketing strategy that would now include the tourist outfitters funding from every other MAT tax operator. It might get a little complex with how that's going to play out. And I think that's something we need to be very cautious of going forward with this. My other concern is this: if we're going to have an economic development commission, that's a committee and not an actual commission. We're talking about a DMO as well. And then we have the Chamber of Commerce involved in all this. We got a lot of moving pieces who are all prioritizing bringing people to Sioux Lookout. How do we structure this and map it out so that everyone is clear on whose roles and responsibilities are what? And how do we go forward in that? It could just mean a lot of just meshing and people not knowing which way we're going. I think setting out clear directives and a clear clear operating within those groups, should they come out, would be something that we really need to focus on. With regards to Cedar Bay, I do agree it's the gem here. I don't think we should sell anything for it. We should hold on to it. Listen to the comments around the table. It sounds like it might be beneficial, maybe potentially, for council to have a meeting with the Friends of Cedar Bay and actually understand the operations out there and understand what goes on, all the moving pieces, all the user groups that are out there, what they see for foot traffic, where the biggest needs are, and hear it from the people that are actually out there looking at it. It would just probably go a long way to help educate us in moving forward through some of this. And I think there's a lot of potential out there. And don't get me wrong, I do use the rec center quite a bit, and I think it's great. But I do value, you can't put a price tag on the outdoor recreation that we have here. So I'm all for that. And I do also, with regards to, I don't know how we're gonna incorporate it into this this report, because it does kind of pump up the application for the new recreation center. And seeing as how we were unsuccessful, how do we tweak that or incorporate that? And maybe that is something that now we know we didn't get it. So what's our strategy now for that going forward as to what we invest in, or how do we go forward with going through that? Because we know we're going to probably have this building for a lot longer now. So what do we go through there? How do we prioritize that? Where are we going to get the funding for down the road if we need significant upgrades, like talked about in the report? So just some things to consider. That's some of the stuff I took away from the report. And I think that's all. So I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Councillor Cassidy. Councillor Fenlon.
Thank you. It's a good report. It's too bad that we didn't get the money for the new recreation center, but still there's lots of information within this document that we can utilize with the Cedar Bay. And I was on the original committee for Cedar Bay, and there was lots of good stuff to move things ahead with skiing and other items down at the lakefront, even during the wintertime. And there was a lot of interest in Cedar Bay at that time there. And I think that interest is still there, just waiting to be put to good use. So I think with what we have right now, without the new complex, we have a lot of good information that we can move ahead with different reports and different organizations, and put council's idea all together and try and come up with something that's feasible. And I sort of have to agree that we shouldn't be selling anything like that, but we're going to end up trying to look for partnerships in doing some of these, whether they're with committees or somebody else. And it's a good document, and I think it's worth looking at and moving ahead for the next 4 or 5 years, trying to move things ahead. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Fenlon. As is usually the case, if it goes around the table, all the smart people around the table have given a lot of smart ideas. There's not much left to say. I think what focus, Councillor Timpson, you'll be pleased, Cedar Bay is certainly a focus on many of the comments. And I think the existing recreation center also has to become a bit of a refocus. And I think I think Councillor Fenlon, you actually, I think brought up what I was going to suggest, that we look to staff to sort of take them. You've taken notes here tonight on the comments on this, how we move forward and utilize this study, or if there are to be any tweaks to the study. But how do we move forward? And I think it's going to end up that it's going to become the study might be the sort of the hub, and there's going to be about a bunch of spokes going off in different various directions, separate reports. But the study can provide a bit of a central focal point for that. But I think, Council, we need to look to staff to take the comments we've had on the study, combined with the study, and come back with a report, and it will be a preliminary report, not asking for a detailed report, but how we move forward from this point, because I think as council has said, there's much for us to do as we to move ahead. CAO, would you care to comment on that?
Thank you. Through your worship, I concur with what you're saying, and I've taken a lot of notes, and we can come back with a report as to how to approach the suggestions in the report and to move some of those things forward in a systematic manner so that we're accomplishing what we need to accomplish and we're not overwhelming and trying to do everything all at once. But in previous conversations with Councillor Timpson, we had spoken about Cedar Bay and how we can make it the gem that it should be and consistently be into the future. So I have some ideas already around that. So we'll report back to council.
All right. So Mr. Harshizaki, I think you got off easy. I did hear one question in there in all the comments, and that was from Councillor Cassidy, and it had to do with the survey, the 2008, I think. But I think it might have been a rhetorical question that we need to update that information. So I think unless anybody else on council has anything further to say, I think council is directing staff to report back to us for next steps in various directions. Is that fair enough, council? Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I just want to, I was really pleased as I am the chair and I'm the chair of the board of directors of Friends of Cedar Bay, and so I'm really very pleased to see the focus on Cedar Bay. And this week there's a fundraiser down at Tim Hortons for Cedar Bay, and I've done a few shifts there, standing there, promoting people buying their cookies for the fundraiser. This time I have been absolutely overwhelmed with the support from the people. A lot of people who are from the north, they come and say, oh yeah, my grandkids go there, and people handing me a $20 bill. This is for Cedar Bay. The public support is incredible. And again, I really believe it could make money. It wouldn't have to be a huge investments from or huge tax burden for any group, because people want this kind of thing. I think we could do one building at a time, like maybe renovate the chalet, which people can rent out for parties or for weekends and so on. Just start small. We've done little bits here and there, but we need a master plan. There's been all kinds of reports that Friends of Cedar Bay has given to the councils, and they just get shelved. It's been sad. So I'm very happy to see this support for moving forward on Cedar Bay. Thanks. That's all I needed to say.
Any further comments, council? So, Councillor Fanlon, did you have your, no? Were you raising a hand? No. All right. So, Mr. Hashizaki, thank you very much for your presentation. And there's no motion associated with this, is there, Clerk? No. Thank you very much, and staff will be in touch with you for any future direction.
Thank you. I just want to say I had a fishing trip scheduled for the spring that was canceled because of COVID, but we are coming back in a week to go fishing in Silicote up on Lac Sioux through one of the outfitters. And we're hoping it'll be a lot warmer than it has been as of late. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. And I'll work with Michelle to produce a document that you can use. Thank
you. All right, council, thank you. We will then move on to item 7.2. Bring the treasurer back on board. You're there. 2019 municipal surplus and transfer. The council authorizes the 2019 municipal surplus of $396,768.29 be allocated to the following areas. 1, high school cafetorium, $214,000. 2, train station renovation, $45,929.38. 3, Hudson communal, $1,801.06. 4, recreation hub design, $12,770.88. 5, library basement, $1,526.40. Sixth, land acquisition, Boat Bay, $120,740.58. And further, that council approves the remaining transfer of $377,219.25 for the land acquisition, Boat Bay, from the Land Development Reserve Fund. The total cost of land acquisition was $497,959.82. And further, the council directs staff to replenish the Land Development Reserve Fund when the Boat Bay property is sold, with the transfer of those sales to the reserve. Councillor Bath, moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. And before we have discussion, perhaps I'll ask the treasurer if she would care to make any comments on this motion.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I'll wait and hear from councillors first to see if they have any questions.
All right, very good. I'll just go around the same order. Councillor Lego.
Okay, start with the first one, the high school cafetorium. In our 2020 budget in draft one, we were told that there was only $187,000 remaining to be paid. I'm just wondering why there's a difference in the number we got today from what we were told in the budget.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I'm not entirely sure the numbers that were presented in the budget presentation, as I was not the one that did it. All I can tell you is what is written in report is with what the project cost us and the total amount of revenue that we've received from donations from other community partners to offset it, as well with the funding application that we did receive.
Okay, yeah, it just, we were told that there was $203,000 remaining, and then we received a $10,000 donation in 2019 from the Rotary Club, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that left 187,000. So that's the number I thought was owing on it. Also, do we know if the community partners have, they said in the report that they were to pay $67,000 of this. Do we know how much the community partners have put in or invested into this?
In total, yes, give me a second. So through you, Mayor Lawrence, the total amount that communities have put in has been $77,000 that have contributed towards this project.
Okay, yeah, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Lego. Councillor Bath.
Yeah, sorry, not too much. Just to give me a little rundown on item 6, if you could, Carly.
Sure. Through you, Mayor Lawrence, back in 2010, the municipality had approached M&R to purchase land around Boat Bay, which is in Hudson. The municipality at the time was to get the land developed so that it could be sold, because I do believe that it is on lake. It's on the lake. What has happened with the property, I'm not entirely sure. That department has gone through a couple of different managers at the time, and you'd have to ask the manager of development services as to where they're currently at with Boat Bay. The CAO may know more in regards to it, but I'm currently unaware.
Councillor Bath, anything further, or CAO, do you have anything to add there?
I have to apologize. I missed that last sentence because I was making notes.
It had to do with the Boat Bay acquisition and the current status of development.
Well, the current status right now, I do know that there's a possibility of a developer wanting to come in and develop those lands, but that is preliminary talks at this time. And just as the treasurer had explained, this amount has been outstanding, and it was supposed to be developed back when it was purchased, and it was not developed. So that's why we're requesting that it be taken care of, because it's been outstanding for quite a bit of time and it's unfinanced.
Thank you. Councillor Bath?
I guess, yeah, I know it's certainly been sitting there for a long time with not much happening, and I'm curious what this $220,000 is going to do to change that. If it's unfinanced, what exactly is going to happen when we put 120,000 into it?
I think and Treasurer, please correct me if I'm wrong, Council, when we look at this, what we're doing is addressing things on the books, addressing accounts that it's a transfer of it's a bookkeeping transfer as much as anything, I think. But Treasurer?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, that is correct. So we do have a couple of outstanding items that are on our books. So when you do look at your financial statements, there is that section where it says general fund, where it shows that we are in a deficit. That deficit is outstanding capital projects that haven't had revenue to offset it yet. Some of the projects are continuing projects, and they will be cleared off our books once the projects have been completed. However, we do have projects that are on our books that haven't been offset with revenue to help pay for it.
You know, all of these amounts represent commitments that this council or previous councils have already made, and we are really addressing, to me, accounting, bookkeeping measures, funding projects in this way through the availability of a surplus from last year.
That is correct.
Councillor Bath, anything further?
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I have a question of the treasurer. So how much do we owe on Boat Bay? Is it 120,000? But then there's 377,000 in the reserve for it.
Through you, Mayor, yeah, through you, Mayor Lawrence, we currently owe $497,959.83. What I'm proposing is that some of the surplus, we use some of the surplus from 2019 to offset it, and the remaining amount would come from the Land Development Reserve Fund.
Oh, I see.
To pay for the remaining, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's clear. Thank you. I guess my thinking is I'd like to get rid of the debt of stuff that we're not going to make any money on, or on things that, for example, get the cafeterium debt out of the way. But then number two, the renos, could we not just leave that and wait until we start to receive the revenue from the rentals? That was the initial plan. And the same for Boat Bay, is wait until we actually sell the lots, or if we have to put any money in to make the lots acceptable to the developer. I think there was one thing, the railway crossing, I think was an issue. But then use whatever left over we have in this surplus, even to fund Boat Bay, bringing Boat Bay up to the level it would need to be for a contractor to be interested in it. So that's kind of my thinking. So that anything that can generate money, I would just say, let's not pay it off and let's wait till the money comes in and use the other surplus for the rest of the surplus for something else, like bringing them up to snuff, or even as an ease on the taxpayers this year. So that, now, maybe you can clarify why that may or may not be the best way to go as our financial person. Maybe you can clarify for me why.
I'm not sure if the CAO, did you have your hand up? Or
I did, but if Carly wants to speak first, because I can answer that as well.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, in regards to number 2, the train station renovations, that was a miss in 2019. We were supposed to transfer the user fee revenue that came in for it to offset the cost for that project. That transfer never occurred. So my recommendation would keep that in as it was, as the revenue was there for it. So technically it is part of that surplus. In regards to the land acquisition, my recommendation still is to try and clean up our books the best that we can. It looks good on our books to have the least amount of debt as possible, where it's just current capital projects that are on the go. When it comes to the sale of that property, it will then, if council directs staff to do so, go back into the development reserve fund to then help for future land development and everything else. I'm not 100% sure exactly what needs to be done with that land or the cost for it.
CAO?
Just to further add to what Carly has just said, to leave large balances like that unfinanced from capital purchases or capital projects, it isn't consistent with best practices for financial management. And having this outstanding, I believe, since 2010 is, we shouldn't have those types of balances unfunded. When we do capital projects, we have to be able to say where the revenue is coming from and not spend the money and then later on say, okay, well, we'll get it back some way, somehow. It's just not good, consistent financial management. And the auditors would also echo that sentiment as well. So I just want to caution council that, yes, we could make the money back in future sale or development of the land or sale of the land. But at this point in time, it's been outstanding for 10 years. And that's just not consistent with good best practices.
Do you know what did we actually pay for it? 600,000 sits in my mind. Do you know for sure? So we paid off some of it.
I would refer that to Carly. I don't know the exact amount.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, it was around $509,000.
Okay, so we haven't paid much at all then.
No.
Okay.
Clerk. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. Sorry, through you, Mayor Lawrence. Just to add to what the CAO and Treasurer have said, and just to pick up on a point that Councillor Timpson made a little earlier in her comments, there are issues with the train tracks there and access to Boat Bay, and there are things happening right now with CN municipality. That crossing is likely going to become the municipality's responsibility, which is going to mean repairs to it will be at our cost and ongoing maintenance will be at the municipality's costs. So those things need to be factored in as well in looking at that development in terms of the cost of making it development ready. So just wanted to add that there are still significant costs associated with the development of those properties, I should say.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson, anything further?
No, but yeah, well, but we're only paying off 120,000 of the 497, right? Or are we going to pay off the whole? I mean, we're really just paying off a very small amount of it by going this route.
No. The Treasurer, please.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we're asking to use $120,440 from the 2019 surplus, and the remaining amount would come from the Land Development Reserve Fund.
Oh, so we're paying the whole thing off.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Howie.
Yeah, so I my first question kind of echoes what Councillor Lego said, was that $214,000 unfunded. Now, this is a question for the treasurer. Is that the in the 2020 budget? Is it $214,000 that was approved, or was there a number presented in that and approved? And then I'm just wondering.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I'm not entirely sure of the question.
Is the $214,000 in line with what was approved in the budget?
Back in 2017?
Yes. Yeah.
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, the project originated back in 2017 when the municipality applied to NOHFC and FedNor for funding, as we were going to partner with the school board in order to help facilitate this new high school cafetorium. With that, we were approved with FedNor for $221,000, with the total project costs to be $502,000. The municipality at the time, with council's approval, had decided to go ahead with the project, even though NOHFC had denied their portion of the project, and had decided at the time would come up with additional funds through fundraising, partnering with organizations here in town that would use the space and everything else. The community partners have all done their due diligence and have sponsored as much as they can for their portion of the project, and the amount that is remaining is the amount that the municipality and council still needs to make a decision as to how we want to pay for that.
Treasurer, if I may, I think at the time there was still an appeal on for the NOHFC funding, and I hope that it might come through. But it was also my recollection, and other councillors who were there at the time can chime in here, that we thought no matter what, we had a great deal to get a 250-seat auditorium for $500,000 less the FedNor, less the community part. So in the end, the municipality putting in, as it comes to whatever it is, $250,000 is a great deal on a 250-seat auditorium, which we don't bear the cost of maintaining, and the school board does. It would have cost us millions of dollars to get. So at that was the feeling of the municipality, municipal council at the time, in my memory, and staff proceeded on that basis. And here we are now, just meeting our commitment.
Okay, yeah, that's just what I wanted to clear up with that, because Councillor Lego had cited a number about $27,000 less than that $214,000. But if it is a previous commitment made, then understanding and the deal that would come with that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, I think I support cleaning up the books and everything. My one question I have is with the train station renos. We say it was a report that was missed. So where did the revenue that was generated there that was supposed to go to those renos, where did that end up going?
Well, I think what the treasurer said, it showed up here as part of the surplus, really, is where.
No, I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know that the treasurer can, well, I shouldn't answer for you, but I don't think she can answer that question. It just didn't, that amount wasn't transferred. So the treasurer, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, you are correct. In order to do transfers like that, additional reports have to go to council to get council approval to move money from one location to another within the budget. And it was just missed at year end when it came time to actually move that money, that the report, we couldn't get the report in on time in order to complete the books.
And had it not been missed, the surplus would have been less by that amount.
No, I understand that, Mike. I guess let me try and rephrase this again. the revenue that was to come from user fees in 2019. So what was supposed to go from the user fees for the people using the train station, where did we collect revenue from the train station, and where did that go?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we did collect revenue from the train station. It went into the train station revenue, which was then supposed to be transferred to capital after. So the revenue came in as part of our operating, which all of our revenue does come in through operating. We never bill individuals for capital. The only revenue that is guaranteed to flow through capital is from funding and approved ahead of time transfers from reserves. So because this is a very unique transfer that had to occur, an additional report had to go to council just to confirm that, yes, we are going to move the money from the user fees to offset the renovations at the train station.
Yeah, the money didn't go anywhere. It remained in our general account, and here it is as part of the surplus.
Oh, I guess, yeah, I see it came full circle. Yep.
Anything else, Councillor Cassidy?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Fenelon.
Yes, I guess the only thing I want to speak on is the land development in out at Boat Bay. One thing, there was the road is going to be proposed to be moved to the east a bit, about 300-400 feet at the time, and the Woodlands Department for Buchanan at the time had was going to map out a road that they were going to use, and we were going to try and utilize some of that to get back to the actual location of the road. And then there was, I think there was some money given to the municipality from the M&R in to help the cost of moving the signals, because the new crossing would have to have signals at the time, and I thought that was $180,000. And to put that to use, I don't know what happened to that money at the time, whether we received it or we didn't. And other than that, you pay for the land, and there's lots of other things that the municipality might have to pick up regarding a road and stuff like that if it starts to move, if somebody wants to come in and develop that property. Because you won't, I don't think you can, CN would let you get away without putting a crossing in, because you're going to boost up the traffic going across there. And there has been, I think, 3 accidents on that crossing over time. And I guess the rest of it, well, it's paying down our debt load a bit. And that's it.
Thank you. Clerk, I saw your hand up. Did you have a comment?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. Yeah, just to follow up on Councillor Fenelon's comment. There was a lot of negotiation back and forth with respect to the crossing, and first there was discussion that they would give us cash, and then ultimately what was decided is they would just take that off the sale price. So essentially we just paid less for the land than they were originally asking, with the understanding that that savings would be used to upgrade the crossing when the time came.
Yeah, you're right, Brian. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So we've been around the table once. My general sense is, although there were some comments, perhaps otherwise, I think in general there was support for this motion. My feeling is we should follow through with the Treasurer's recommendations, absolutely, on these items. I do have one question. It's the smallest item on your list. And when I read the report, Hudson Communal, it's only $1,800, but just out of curiosity, is that the communal septic system that was upgraded, or what is it? Okay, never said the word septic in there. Yeah. That's what it was.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes. It was an operational expense. Yep. That I should have caught at year end to transfer into operating. It should never have gone through capital. And yeah.
No, I think I think we have made all these commitments and we have an opportunity through surplus, which is good. And maybe another follow-up question would be, can you, other than we know that how some of the surplus came to be, that we didn't make some of these commitments that we've followed through that we should have, but in general, how has the surplus, how have we arrived at a surplus in very general terms?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, it was a combination of multiple things, staff changes, the extra revenue that we received from evacuation, the or some people didn't travel as much as they did. Some of the expenses on projects and stuff that they were hoping to start didn't commence in 2019. So it was a multitude of a whole bunch of different areas that brought to that surplus.
Great, thank you, and good work on bringing all this forward. I think it's a very positive note to clear up these matters through the surplus. Council, any further comments before we go to a vote? And I see Councillor Lego and Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, if the treasurer can just check on that amount, because I'm looking at the first draft of the 2020 operating budget, and it does say 187,000. It's the November 27th, 2019 draft, and it's on the last page, page 19 of the report that was presented to council, item number 55. And it says 2017 outstanding project, cafetorium, 203,000, donations 2019, 10,000, balance owing 187,000. So if that just can be clarified or checked on. And, oh yeah, sorry.
Councillor, and it would be my understanding that you're not objecting to calling the vote as,
I'm not
as the
objecting to
treasurer
calling
is,
the vote, no.
as the treasurer is correcting things now. If that is in fact need future correction, it can be done
Yes.
through bookkeeping
Yeah.
and brought to account. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
You
the
have another
only,
comment?
the only other outstanding debt that we have is the boat launches of 41,000. I don't know if that was considered at this time.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, that it would be part of the reserve and the reserve fund report that would come to council with a recommendation of how we are to deal with that
So that is coming to council?
eventually.
Yes, yeah. I didn't mean tonight or next. It is coming to council. Thank you. Councillor Leger, anything further?
That's everything.
Councillor,
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, how could we have not paid in, have bought this land 10 years ago and have not paid off anything on it? Obviously, we've been paying the interest accumulated, but how could that happen? It doesn't make sense.
My understanding is we bought the land from general accounts and just haven't accounted for it yet, but treasurer or CIO?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I believe at the time of the purchase, they had anticipated on developing the land and getting it all ready to sell right away. For whatever reason, that didn't occur. So as of right now, all I can comment is that it's still on our books, and I'd like to clear it off if possible.
Treasurer, can I just follow up on Councillor Timpson though? Have we paid for the land and it's on our books that we paid for it from our general account? Mm-hmm. And now we're paying ourselves back through the surplus?
Through
or handling the surplus?
Correct. Like every expenditure has to show that there's a revenue that's affiliated with it on how exactly we are to purchase these products. This one, we purchased it in hopes to sell the land right away, and then that land would offset the expenditures for it. That hasn't been the case so far.
So Councillor Timpson, we have paid for the land from our general account, but we just haven't accounted for it in our bookkeeping other than it's an outstanding debt. And now we're going to cover that through the surplus.
the 377,000 that was in the land reserve, it was pinpointed for Boat Bay, right? Or I just don't understand how that's
Through,
yeah.
through you, Mayor Lawrence, you're asking about the revenue that's in the Land Development Reserve Fund?
Yeah.
So the revenue that's in the Land Development Reserve Fund, how the revenue gets in there is every time the municipality sells land, that sale of the land automatically gets transferred into the Land Development Reserve Fund for future development within the municipality.
For future
Okay.
land purchase development.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, yeah, see, so that, okay. That, so it wasn't pinpointed for Boat Bay or anything like that. It just the way it was written, it was a bit confusing, so, okay. That's good, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, council? I see nothing, so I'm going to call the vote on the 6-point way of handling the municipal surplus as read before. Had been moved by Councillor Bath and seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Treasurer. And we're moving on to, really, I guess we're at councillors' reports. Are we, Clerk? We do have a closed session. Well, yeah, that's right. We'll do the closed session after. So councillor reports. Councillor Lego.
Had a committee adjustment meeting where we dealt with 6 items. There's a lot that hadn't been dealt with over the summer due to COVID. So we did a Zoom meeting. It actually went quite well. And there was a meeting from the Kenora Home for the Aged Board, but I did not attend. I will be going to the next meeting and just our procedural bylaw meeting. That's everything.
Thank you, Councillor Bath.
Just a base meeting that we had yesterday. It was a very nice, easy, short meeting. So that's about all I've got to report on today.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Just a resource utilization committee meeting with the hospital. Just a routine meeting, and you know, the hospital is looking at land that it can develop for rental because the housing is one of the big problems in keeping staff at the hospital. So other than that, that's actually all I've done for council this month that I can think of. So.
Thank you. Councillor Howie.
Attended the procedural bylaw meeting. Other than that, you know, meeting with people on the street, some land developers talking about, you know, if they should go into their second apartment building or third, because like Councillor Timpson said, housing is a big issue for many employers. Other than that, nothing else major.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, for me, I attended the first in-person masked up youth professional network meeting. It was a really great turnout, a lot of interest. The Facebook group actually is over 70 members now in town locally. I think someone even came from Dryden. So good reach on it, and I'm kind of stepped on board there to just try and help coordinate and do some of the activities or plan and just help out in any way I can to just really help get it off the ground. And actually we're having a bonfire at Cedar Bay tomorrow night. So anyone listening, if they want to come out to the youth professional bonfire tomorrow night at Cedar Bay, and doing some of that. And that's kind of, I was hoping to take part in the Smile Cookie campaign. Unfortunately, had a bit of a cold go through the house, but yeah, Councillor Timpson already plugged it. But yeah, make sure you get out there, get your Smile Cookies, and support Cedar Bay. So, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Fanlon.
Yeah, I had a LCC meeting last night. It was shorter than normal ones. And I think the biggest thing that that come out of the meeting last night was the bug kill that's taken place in the Sioux forest that's spreading over from out of the west. And they're trying to put things together to alleviate some of the bug kill. And throughout this 2021, they hope to do something with it if the money's there to make it work for us. And I missed SLAM opening there, and I have to thank Councillor Cassidy for going. The memo was received on July 20th, and I hadn't been into the office the month of June, July at all, and I never got the notice. The notice was opened by staff, and I would have thought somebody would have phoned me, but it never happened. So, but thanks, Councillor Cassidy, for attending to that. And that was it.
Thanks, Councillor Fenlon. I guess I could start off with that same SLAM opening, and I asked Councillor Cassidy to, as Deputy Mayor, to attend on my behalf. I had a conflict, so thank you, Councillor Cassidy. And the notice of that was reasonably short. I think I'm not sure about the dates, Councillor Fenlon.
It was received by the municipality on July 20th. It's stamped on the memo from SLAM.
Okay. Yep. Good. And I decided I would go to the acting mayor, the acting deputy mayor as the next go-to, since I couldn't go. And I apologize. I should have informed you as well.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I've attended the funding announcement for Bigwood Lake, the FedNor funding, and there was various media follow-up from that. And I think that was perhaps the conflict. I'm not sure for the SLAM event. Spin-off and tourism sector, and then there was been some spin-off and tourism sector promotion from that. KDSB involvement, board meeting, and getting started with the treatment center that the Friendship Accord is proposing, and KDSB is trying to move forward to have a consultant on to put together a feasibility study. Health unit meetings of note recently, the Rainy River District, not of the health unit, but the Rainy River District health agencies, everything from Rainy River to Atikokan, are putting forward an Ontario Health Team application. So far, the only one in the Northwest that's gone forward is the so-called All Nations Health Team application from Kenora and area. This is for the Rainy River District, and the health unit is one of 10 partners on that application. Been involved with attending the Northwest Health Unit municipal updates, where they come online. Municipal mayors and councils are invited to hear an update and ask questions. Inspector Dan Davidson, OPP, retirement last week, that we tried to, and I think did a reasonable job of keeping it COVID friendly, unfriendly, so to speak, by a limited number, held at the rec center, and staff did a great job to put that together. And sorry to see Inspector Davidson go. He was a great asset for our community, working with partner agencies, really did a wonderful job. And the OPP is in the process of hiring a replacement, and I know they're looking locally for that as well. SLAM graduation, went to that, a culinary arts graduation, which they held in their parking lot last week. Nice event as always. And doing a bit of work just initiating the CAO performance appraisal, which I think you've all now received notice of, that'll be underway. And also, I think, as the CIO has alluded to in her reports to us, helping in when complaints come in. There's been a few lately, property standards, some of which actually more than half of which really don't involve the municipality. Some people, the municipality is the go-to agency to solve people's problems, it seems, and some of the problems are not our problems, but we respond and try to direct people as best we can to where they can go. Not always received warmly, and sometimes we're thanked for being involved. That's been my involvement. I guess we're going to move into closed session. So to discuss matters of a general nature, as noted below, the council moves into closed session at 7:10 p.m. To discuss matters of a general nature relating to personnel matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees, as per the Municipal Act, for amendments to councils, boards, commissions, committees, and membership. Moved by Councillor Bath and seconded by Councillor Timpson that we move into closed session. All in favor? Carried. And I think the clerk is going to usually gives us the instruction to use that box and join the
Yes,
breakout
through you,
room.
Mayor Lawrence. Yeah, there should be a box on your screen that says breakout rooms. If you just click the join button, you'll be able to join the closed session.
I'm getting little overlays on my, here we go, a recording overlay on top of the button that gives me full screen. I'll just go ahead without it. Are we all back? I can't, without the full screen, I can't see. Are you there, clerk? Tech support, are you there? Maybe escape.
Yep, they should all be coming back from the closed session now.
No, I'd like to go to full screen, and instead I have a little recording overlay, and when it has a stop recording button instead of full screen, which is hidden behind it or visible but underneath it.
You should be able to slide that out of the way, or you can go ahead and click the cancel button if that helps.
Cancel. Now I'm being asked to admit Joyce Timpson to the room, and I don't think that's my job.
Yep, she's in.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I clicked a button that said stop recording, but hopefully I didn't.
I know
Stop
we're still recording.
Do you want to stop cloud recording? I will say cancel.
Thank you.
Thanks. Not sure how, just let us return to report out from closed session. The council ratifies the motion given to staff. Clerk, lead me through this.
Certainly, through Mayor Lawrence. In this case, the motion was discussed and closed. So if you like, I can read it, the motion that needs to be passed in open session.
Please.
That council approves amending Schedule A to bylaw number 92-18, being the bylaw to make appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees by deleting Megan Sherko from the Environment Committee.
Moved by Councillor Fanlon, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 7420, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, municipality of Sioux Code, September 16th. Regular council meeting be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Bath. All in favor? Carried. And I still need a motion to adjourn, do I, clerk?
Yes.
I do. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Howie, that the meeting be adjourned. All in favor? Good night, and thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.